The McLean County Regional Planning Commission has released a draft of its regional housing recovery plan for public comment that's supposed to draw a roadmap for Bloomington Normal and the region to address housing shortages and housing needs of specific groups of people. The plan notes there is limited affordability, not much choice for young professionals or seniors, not much housing diversity, barriers to access for low-income people, and rising homeless and poverty rates. The poverty rate for African Americans is also much higher than for the population as a whole. In this conversation with WGLT's Charlie Schlenker, Regional Planning Commission Director Raymond Lai lays out some of the recommendations to address the tangle of issues that affect housing.
There's some current programs, that should be looked at and considered. And one of the recommendations from this plan is, to have some kind of regional information hub so that with certain populations, certain needs, those information will be made available, and that we'll work with organizations and nonprofits, and including currently the Housing Navigator out of MCCA. But that's only with like a limited time thing. It's like funded for 2 years. So if there's opportunity to extend that, whether it's from municipal funding or other sources of funding, because there's definitely need for functions and services provided by that. So there's a lot of different ways, that we can help people with special needs, and depending on their situation, although it may not be on an individual basis, but then they will make sure there's information available, and then we can target to certain groups of population.
One of the populations that's rising is the unhoused or the homeless. Mm-hmm. What are the recommendations in the report to address that constituency?
Mm-hmm. This report doesn't address specifically, but there's some recommendations that would be relevant, such as the resources that could be available with the state, because they have an office of homeless prevention, and we are working with that office, the governor's office, on looking at some of the solutions. Then we'll, as part of the recommendations, there will be a lot of regional resources that will be hoping to coordinate and see what resources are out there that would help the unhoused or the homeless folks that currently experiencing or trying to prevent that getting worse.
One of the lacks identified in the report and recommendations is that the community consider increasing the amount of permanent supportive housing for the homeless. Mm-hmm. What went into that recommendation?
We recognize what we call like you said, the PSH, the permanent supportive housing, and for the audience, it's just locating them a place to stay, or permanently or temporarily transitioning to more permanent location, but then to provide a lot of support services. So right now there's not enough of those type of developments or housing units. So this is one of the goals of the plan, is to increase the number of units of those type of development, the PSH development in our community. Just like any other residential development, market rate or non-market rate, the affordable housing, it takes a lot of effort. And I recognize there's some nonprofits in our community going after your state funding as in subsidies for those type of units. But we also will encourage, and actually we explore different opportunities. If there are developers outside of this area who are experienced in providing those permanent supportive housing units, we're trying to work with them, try to attract them, try to get them to get knowledgeable our community, and then to work with them.
What are some of the other recommendations you want the public to look over before you finalize the report?
Yeah. It really have a wide range from having an implementation committee set up to have regional resources that we collaborate with, to have a more centralized information hub, to having what we call housing coordinator. It takes actually more than one person, full-time job to help to promote, to help to implement all the recommendations. But we believe there's definitely a need for, at least as a start, to have a full-time person look at these recommendations to help to implement those in working with different partners. And on top of that, education, public education, because housing could mean different things to different folks. Whole host other recommendations also including reviewing the zoning ordinance, because that would affect the land use and approval of development proposals, and also to maximize and expand any funding opportunities, from looking at federal, state, even local, even philanthropic foundations, just the whole host of funding opportunities. And it's not just to add new developments. We should also think about maintaining, preserving existing stocks to a good housing quality, and also to support any, what we just said earlier about the PSH, the permanent supportive housing, and LIHTC, the low-income housing tax credit programs, and developers who are so interested. And landlord is another sector that, in employers, we recognize there are a few major employers in town, let alone smaller ones, but employees do encounter housing needs and issues. So by working with landlords and employers in our community, it would help to alleviate or to prevent or to work collaboratively with them, so to help their own employees, and that will be a good economic development, if anything else, in terms of workforce retention.
Where should some of this coordinating behavior be housed? Should it be housed in the Regional Planning Commission? Should it be housed in one of the municipalities or at the county level? What's the best fit to make sure it's effective and actually does the job of bringing stakeholders together?
That's a very good question. In fact, we start looking at some of the best practices. There are a lot of housing plans out there, but what is the model that's most effective, right? And what is this should be governmental only, so that it be intergovernmental, and also it involve private sector and nonprofits who also on the different segments of the formula, to make housing work in an equitable, in an affordable manner. That is something we're considering while this is a regional issue, and whether MCRPC, McLean County Regional Planning Commission, should be the one coordinating that. We don't have a lot of bandwidth because we're really loaded in terms of projects and workload, but we definitely would be interested in just seeing what was the best practices, and then would help to coordinate, at least in the beginning, to form implementation committee to get this going.
That's Ray Lai, Director of the McLean County Regional Planning Commission. The Commission wants community feedback on the plan by March 14th to allow the Commission to finish the plan by the end of the month. You can read the plan and comment at mcplan.org. Ray Lai spoke with WGLT's Charlie Schlenker.